don't think has the nulls, but also not running a Battleground Battlemaster, but instead running Thalnos. And there it is in the opening hand.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting because Monsanto also doesn't run the Tamsin Roam.
Yeah.
So going for just more pressure overall instead of like targeted pressure, I guess is the right way to go about it. His deck wants to be ahead a lot of the match. Instead of, kind of trying to get these big swing turns. A lot of times, especially with Rod, Tamsin can be awkward to play. And it seems like he's cut out some of the cards that are awkward to play and opted to just put in more stuff that, if anything, after drawing some cards for the first couple turns, he can just slap something on the board, right? And that's where the nulls come in. So I tend to like this variation the best just because against a wide spread of matchups, it feels pretty good. But he'll be really missing that Tamsin Roam against some of the more board-based decks. But it does fit into his ban, right? He bans away Priest, Tamsin Roam. That's where it shines a lot of times the most because you can double up on the touch. So it all makes sense. That was a very long-winded way of saying it's cool. It makes sense. Good job, Monsanto. And No Hands has a cool hat.
He does. Yes, we get to see a little bit more going on in this camera than we did in the last series.
It's just resting atop his head. It's not. Oh man, I always when players do these kinds of shenanigans where they try and match each other's ridiculousness, right? I always wonder what it's like for someone who's brand new to Hearthstone and is like, Hearthstone has an esport, they have a league, I want to go check this out. And then the first match that they tune into when they go to youtube.com/Hearthstone Esports is this. It's just a guy at the bottom wearing a hat and a guy at the top kind of wearing a hat. And they just say to themselves, what am I watching? What have I gotten myself into? I hope that happens. And if you're out there, if you're that person, welcome. Enjoy your stay.
Absolutely. And I will say again, I think I'm just going to keep harping on it the whole broadcast, but Monsanto has been extremely successful so far this season. So, maybe it's the hat. If it works for Monsanto, maybe it'll work for No Hands. And he's trying it out. He's stealing the strats.
Well, many before him have tried to siphon the power of the hat, and many have failed. So it is a bold strategy. But right now, No Hands is looking good. Had the Rod early on, went Rod into backfire, is getting that quest completion on board, that card draw on board. So I would say No Hands has quite the lead here in this game thus far. But a lot can change. No Hand or Monsanto, if he picks up his own Rod plus backfire anytime soon, we could see things equalize. It all depends on if No Hands can turn these discounts into finding his threats faster. Because if he can't, then, if I can't scuba, then what has this all been for?
Like you're asking me, what is the meaning of life? There's no answer.
There's
42? 42.
There you go. That's a good answer. That's about the entire cost of his deck right now, which normally would be well into the 50s, but with this Rod has been 42. So maybe you're right. There's a Flesh Giant. Okay, that's a good start. But has kind of gassed out as far as, it's got Raised Dead, which has more draw in the pool. He's good. He's cooking.
Interesting looking at the hands for both of these Warlocks as kind of opposed to the last two series that we've seen where it felt like Warlock just had these really clunky hands. And as I say that, we just get all the clunky minions in the hand now. So, this always happens every time I cast. It's like, why do I say these things? Because it always just messes it up. But there has been some more early game and some removal, some other options for these players to actually use this game rather than just having a hand of scavengers and nothing else.
It's actually quite refreshing to have an actual game of handlock versus handlock. I'm enjoying it. Santos still got to feel behind, but can tap Null Panthara here, which at least puts some stuff in the way to distract Monsanto from getting out even better stuff. Without hating like the meaningful card draw, Monsanto does want to think about what it means to like start thinking about trying to get Soul Rend down to empty his deck and get even more threats online, or how to expedite this Flesh Giant hitting the board as well. Even though it seems like a simple turn, there's still a lot more to it as far as future planning goes.
Oh.
Think of anything fancy. Is there anything fancy you can do? Anything fancy? Nah, that's not fancy.
No.
Okay, not going fancy. I'm just gonna go normal.
No, I think that's okay, because sometimes players can try to get fancy and then it ends up really being detrimental for them and probably not the best idea. But I think just going for some bodies on board here, yet seeing how it shapes up seems reasonable.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, the second rod coming out for no hands as well. So many discounts.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I mean, Flesh Giant is certainly hitting the board this turn. No Hands can drain Soul for free. Mortal Coil almost for free, and then play a Flesh Giant for free. It's all free.
Yeah. And if you look at Monsanto's hand, everything costs 6.
Yeah, that ain't free.
No. I mean, this happens when one player finds those discounts and one player doesn't. We've seen it in a lot of different matchups, but that's just working out a lot better in this particular game for No Hands than it is for Monsanto. There's that giant.
Monsanto, though, will have an excuse to Soul Rend, and by killing off 4 minions, he will be able to get these Baron Scavengers down. The problem is you need to fit in a Drain Soul as well, and then the Scavengers are going to be delayed a turn. Ooh.
I wonder.
Oh, I've got it. Play the Battle Master on the board and push 4 damage.
Huh.
That's fancy.
I wonder.
Doesn't sound very fancy. 4 damage sounds really sad. Just,
I mean, what would No Hands even think if that was Monsanto's play?
maybe something like,
scared.
thanks for the win?
What could my opponent be up to now? Oh no, Flesh Giant. At least he has one in the hand. But discarding Flesh Giant, you want to be able to go for those big swing turns. That's the benefit of being able to play like kind of the first Soul Rend is you get deeper into your deck, you can go with bigger swings with the Baron Scavengers, with the Bristlebacks, and he's lost some of those now, so won't be quite as good.
You here for the tour?
It's all free!
Yeah. Who needs to pay for cards?
Yeah, I can just do everything. That's more card draw. Play the Baron Scavenger for free. Could cycle another Mortal Coil for free. Draw another card for free.
Sure.
You here for the tour?
Oh, jeez. Oh my gosh, it's discounted. He can play that too.
all the card draw.
It's drew like 7 cards that turn.
Oh, picking up the Tamsin there as well, getting a discount on that is pretty nice for No Hands. There are some cards that, if they were discounted, like we saw with those Mortal Coils that he just played, couldn't get a copy of those from Tamsin because they would cost 0. But maybe there's potential for the Tamsin and Soul Rend in the future if Monsanto can get on board with some big minions.
Yeah, at this point, No Hands has drawn through most of his deck. The goal now is just to complete the quest, get the deck complete, nice and empty, just good and empty.
Yep.
And then start those fatigue damage ticks with Tamsin. So being able to like blow his own deck up at this point could be quite good. Monsanto would really be liking a second Soul Rend here to be able to deal with this board. Otherwise, he's going to be putting stuff in the way, which you know is okay, but it's cost 6.
Yeah. I mean, double Neophyte can do that. It hurts.
Why aren't my cards free too?
Almost out of time.
Just going for getting on the board a bit here. You can see the remaining cards over on the side there. 1 Drain Soul, Backfire, Bristleback, 1 more Soul Rend, Baron Scavenger, and a Flesh Giant.
Some pretty good stuff still left for No Hands, I'd say. Notably, the Flesh Giant would be a nice opportunity to pick it up right here. I'd take an 8/8. That would be certainly free. The other stuff, though, is not great. He doesn't really have anything to kind of protect his board. Ooh.
I guess does have the Drain Soul. Well, Tamsin, Drain Soul, second Drain Soul, and a Bristleback can clear up some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder.
Yeah, the Soul Rend does feel a little bit messy.
Yeah.
You have to kill off all of his own stuff, too. It's also a lot of, especially since he's not dropping a Flesh Giant as well of his own, it's a lot of stuff just to throw into this board. But he's actually just going to put on the pressure now, forcing Monsanto to have to remove everything. And then being able to actually play Tamsin next turn and already be in fatigue. He's 3 away from the quest.
I felt like such an amazing clear.
Pretty clean.
Yeah. Well, how helpful is completing for Monsanto at this point?
Well, I don't even know how close he is. I don't even know if he's even close. I feel like he has to
0 out of 8.
I mean, he can like empty his deck completely right now. He could Soul Rend and then Backfire. He'd only have 1 card left in his deck, but he knows that No Hands is very likely getting his own Tamsin down next turn. So I feel like he needs to like... oh, okay, gonna tap. I was thinking even like Soul Rend double Neophyte and just forego the draw, but this works out because he picks up Raise Dead. What was his quest completion? I didn't even see it.
It was at 0 out of 8 before that.
Okay, so now he's at 3.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
So close, but so very far away.
All right. Poor Rod just didn't get to do anything at all.
Okay. 2 cards left in Monsanto's deck, and they are, drumroll, a Tour Guide and a Bristleback. All right, Bristleback's pretty good.
Sure.
Tour Guide, not so much.
Not really.
There you
No. Oh. No Hands gets to complete his quest. Gets the Blightborn Tamsin.
Okay. And gets to drop a Flesh Giant as well. So, not into fatigue, and doesn't have any draw left, but does have some threats. And Monsanto's quite low. So from here, Monsanto's turns are pretty straightforward. He just taps every turn and then hopes that's enough, which it very likely will be since Monsanto is considerably far behind. And doesn't have a great way to actually complete the Tamsin because his quest completion has been awkward. Still needs 5 damage, but then if he backfires, he's taking more than 5 damage because he'll be entering fatigue. And then that's a lot of mana to expend in order to just get Tamsin online. He would die without healing up. So this is quite the tough situation. His cards are just so expensive.
I'm almost out of cards.
feel like that was just our moment of silence for poor Monsanto in this game because it feels kind of over.
I can't think of a way.
Yeah. I mean, he's really
Just
looking,
clear.
I guess.
He has so his last card is Bloodshard Bristleback, so he can tap, then play the Knoll. That's 3 mana. Bloodshard Bristleback, that's 6. Drain Soul, that's 8 mana, and that would clear up the entire board, but be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And leave him with almost nothing. And then, actually, next turn, he'll take 1 tick of Fatigue, which will activate the Tamsin. They could play Tamsin, and then backfire. Oh, and if he loads up the tour guide, so then he can backfire Hero Power, Mana Feeder, Panthera. Okay.
Kind of interesting for No Hands, too, because at this point, he can clear and definitely wants to get a tap in there, right, to start adding that fatigue in, but doesn't have any more ways besides just the draw at the start of turn, plus the hero power each turn to draw additional cards.
Yeah, this is actually awkward. So Tamsin plus Soul Rend almost always happens. You should know the cards left. There's not lethal on the other side, but Monsanto will actually stick a pretty big minion. So NoHandsGamer will have to hold back the Bristleback to be able to deal with the Tamsin on the next turn.
Yeah.
This could be close, but I don't think Monsanto has enough healing left.
No.
I think I thought I counted 19, but maybe I'm wrong. 4, 5 is 9. Plus the hero power is 8, 17. Oh no, that was lethal. Okay, it was 25. Oh yeah, because he wasn't 1 into fatigue, he was 2 into fatigue because the first tick of fatigue was actually his natural draw, which activated the Tamsin. So then he started at 2 fatigue. Okay, that's where I went wrong. So I missed 6 complete damage because Lorinda, I used your formula and I was wrong. Wherever you are, because I started at 1, not at 2.
Numbers.
Formula's bogus. Forget operator error. Formula's bogus. Nicely done by Monsanto. He didn't have any rods. Monsanto had 2 rods and he still won. Other way around. No Hands had 2 rods. Monsanto had none.
Right.
Monsanto still won. That's what I meant.
Wow, though. That was exactly, well, very impressive by Monsanto taking down the mirror match. So taking the first game, and we're going to get to see now NoHandsGamer Druid. I'm so excited for this. I want to see this. Single claw machine, but I want to see it.
Yeah, single claw machine just to guarantee the Anacondra. Like, you have 2 ways to guarantee Anacondra. One is drawing Anacondra. The second is drawing the claw machine. Very simple way. But this is not the miracle version that we've seen in previous weeks. It actually does do things prior to Celestial Alignment. It has Glowfly Swarm and Arbor Up. You can actually get a pretty big board early on with just those 2 cards, not even factoring in alignment plus ramp. So that's a bonus. But it matches with a ton of removal. It can gas out because it doesn't get these giant, infinitely statted boards or OTKs with drawing through your deck and playing Cthulhu like the Miracle Druid can. But it can front load a lot of pressure. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool deck, honestly. And Celestial Alignment can just ruin a lot of decks' game plan because they want to be drawing and playing multiple cards per turn. This one in particular.
Yeah. You mentioned this kind of matchup when we were talking about the overall lineups and the bans, and you mentioned this Garrote Rogue into the Druid. Feels like it's going to be a bit tough for No Hands. I think the Rogue is pretty favored. but there's always a chance, I suppose, if the rogue just ends up not finding what it needs. You know, I think it's come up a couple of times across some of the other regions for Grandmasters before, but sometimes rogue just loses to itself, right? If it doesn't do the job, if it doesn't do what it needs to do, it's just dead in the water. But
I mean, I would lump Druid in there as well. I mean, you rip Fungal Fortunes on 3, you discard the Claw Machine and the Anaconda. I mean, you're winning on a Glowfly Swarm and a Prayer. So because of this Monsanto, I mean, he knows what's up. You just tempo. They have like a single removal card in their entire deck in Solar Eclipse. So yeah, just play a 2/1. He's never going to kill it. What is he going to do? Coin Hero Power it? Forget about it.
okay, I really also want to see, at this point now, I'm just going to say all the things I want to see and hope that they happen. I want to see the turn for Kazakis for the Rogue again, because we've seen that in 2 other series, and it's been amazing. I want to see it again. He needs to draw the Kazakis. So maybe we get there.
Just tempo the field contact. I mean, it really does have to be exactly solar or lunar eclipse.
So many.
That's it.
Does he want to take that chance, though? Because this hand is a little bit sad otherwise.
I mean, the upside is huge.
True.
And the
He's
downside,
really debating about this, too.
he could just draw another one, right?
That would be the hope.
Yeah. So if we put it in that frame of reference, there is all the upside and no downside. He's got another one in his deck. Problem solved.
It's quiet.
Yes.
Quiet.
I like to see him really take the time to think about that one, though, because that really kind of did feel like an interesting play. And he really is forcing No Hands to have the answer, which I love when players do that. Like, you have to have the answer or I'm about to just pop off.
Yep. And No Hands would need like runner Lightning Bloom into choose more lunar eclipse. He actually gets 2 guess the waits, which is weird. It's rare that you see solar eclipse into guess the wait unless you're desperate for draw, which NoHandsGamer is pretty desperate for draw at this current point in time.
Desperate for some mana. Cards are not doing a whole lot at this point. You just go for concealment here? Oh, he's going to keep going for the battle cries.
Yeah, consumer will always draw 2, whereas protecting the field contact and just getting more stuff on the board. Now is when it gets awkward, though. I don't know if he wants to kill off more of his stuff. He's already played 1. Wait, has he? No, he played the Guardian. Yeah, he's already played 1 of the Aethera Aug Merchant, so if he wants to just hold on to his ability to actually have spell damage in later portions of the game, he doesn't want to. Forget it. Nope. Forget I said anything. You don't win with Garrotes in this matchup. You win just by putting more minions on board.
Yeah.
Boom.
Give me that. Blood.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, there's the other field contact. He drew it.
He's good.
Nope. Hand's gonna get the Glowfly Swarm out on board. Hope it's enough to try to contest what's going on here, but there's quite a lot that it feels like Monsanto can still do.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm thief.
I mean, these are still drawing cards. The field contact hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there. Wanthief could pick up like the extra burn that he'll need to end this game without the ability for him to go for spell damage Garrotes now with both of their Aug Merchants. He could actually Shadow Step their Aug Merchant if he really thinks that things have gone poorly enough to where he'll need the spell damage. Ooh, okay. No, he Shadow Step the Cold Neophyte. Who cares if that has spell damage on it?
Yeah.
Because that's going to block No-Hand's entire turn again.
Yep. Well, it makes a lot of sense as well. He saw No-Hand's coin into the Glowfly, which could be an indicator that No-Hands is about to follow up with an Arbor Up. And that's a lot of damage on the board. We saw him take this Fire Sale, but if he can also prevent an Arbor Up from coming out this turn, then he is sitting pretty good. Where was that on turn 3?
A little bit late.
Yeah, a bit.
The Shroud of Concealment actually coming in incredibly handy here.
Yeah.
Monsanto just very close to having lethal on forward. That's 5 damage. Just a Garrote drawn off the top would actually be enough.
Really doesn't have a lot of cheap minions or anything left either. He's kind of already played them all at this point. One more Wand Thief. If he were to go Field Contact into Swindle. No, just starting with the Swindle.
Yeah, because he was just trying to go for the Garrote draw and didn't have anything that could combo it that would still leave him enough mana for Garrote plus Dagger. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spells left in the deck. 2 of them were Garrote, so that was just a 1 and 3 to find lethal. So,
yeah,
I like the attempt. Oh,
still going for it.
now it can prep it. There it is.
Yep. Well, pretty favorable matchup there for Monsanto, but I think it was still really well played. That decision to just play out the Field Contact on turn 3 really paid off, and he's going to take the series up 2-0.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup because I don't think like the vast majority of players who are just like jamming Garrote Rug over and over again win it that often, because you try and go for your normal strategy, right, in the matchup, which is draw through your deck and find your Garrotes. But there's so many ways that can get punished if you give the Druid time. Celestial Alignment is the big one. Them just armoring out of range with Cenarian Ward is another one, right? Because you have a finite amount of damage in the deck. It's hard that you can draw through your entire deck without having to use like Shadow Step or Ethereal Aug Merchant at some point to draw more cards, and so you'll be limited on spell damage. So just playing for tempo, getting your stuff on board, and hitting them before they have a chance to do anything seems to be a recipe for success against a deck that's designed to be anti-combo, but sacrifices pretty much all their ability to contest the board by doing so.
I mean, neophytes certainly help as well, which, getting a bunch of draws, some neophytes, keeping a board, all very helpful. And now, again, we are on Conquest, so Monsanto having to get a win with each of his decks. And this last deck remaining is this Hybrid Demon Hunter, because it didn't get banned. So we actually get to see it.
Yeah, I think this is where the Druid can really shine, because if you can get Celestial Alignment down before the quest line is complete for the Demon Hunter, it is very difficult for them to actually win the game. Also, if you can just go off with it, Lady Anacondra, they need to have a miracle removal turn with discounted Guild Traders and Moargs and Immolation were all packed into the hand. So I'd say this is where NoHand's eyes were directed towards when he built this deck.
Yeah. And this looks like a pretty decent hand, at least some of the cards here for NoHands, but Monsanto's got some good draw as well. Could get some early quest completion going. More ramp.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was going to say No Hands is like a nourish away from a good time. This is... I think he has enough ramp. I think right now he's just missing draw. Though,
yeah,
there's a good amount of draw in the deck. Maybe you do just go for Wild Growth and go Growth, Overgrowth, and then Anaconda. But then that would be at the expense of not having the Nourish. Okay, yeah, Nourish.
Yeah.
That was my instinct.
Yeah, I think the Nourish just gives him a lot more flexibility as well, right? Because even if he goes for ramp, if he ends up finding the Celestial alignment, then can go for that and then has the Nourish to follow up afterwards too. So I really like taking the Nourish. I think it's just a lot more flexible, gives him more options. And I love, again, Monsanto just going for kind of the tempo minion early on with the Moarg.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of downside, to be honest, from the Moarg. Again, the only punish for it in the deck is the Solar Eclipse, and even then, No Hands had no use for additional spell damage outside of that, so... Well, another Nourish. Now, he's basically just looking for a germination, and this game will probably end. And by probably, I mean, it will certainly end.
There's a lot of draw in the hand for Monsanto right now.
Yeah, so at this point, Monsanto needs to kind of think of where he is in the matchup. If he thinks he can go super aggressive with card draw here and like start with an acrobatics or no, it would be double trade first and then spectral sight. If he really thinks that he needs to find brutes right now, he's just going to go full on draw. The other option is to actually start with acrobatics and just draw the minimum amount to complete the quest. So he just end with trade here, just to have the maximum chance after Kurtrus is played to kill. But I going to play that for tempo and not complete the quest. He's got to be worried right now because that's ramp hit for No Hands, and he kept some cards in the mulligan, which means that he's very likely to at least set up for a pop-off turn next turn.
Yeah.
Pleasure doing business.
Oh, he's just going for quest completion.
Okay.
I feel like it makes a little bit more sense than just playing a minion for tempo at this point. Yeah, he played the Moarg for tempo, but after seeing the ramp and, like you mentioned, cards that were kept, I think he's just kind of got to go and hope. But
the game's gonna hit.
Well,
yeah. Lightning Bloom, Solar Eclipse, Germination, Nourishes are free. That's been the theme of today. If there were a theme, all the cards are free. Everything's free. Not everything, like Celestial Alignments are arcane, whatever, but the rest of the stuff is free. That's free. That's not free. That one's free.
Oh, all right.
Okay, guess the wait. With a nice little Lunar Eclipse thrown in, cleanly clear the Moarg. He's looking for another Nourish, perhaps. Fungal Fortunes would be a nice pickup at this point. Pretty much anything with a nature tag on it. It looks like it will end here, but that's still an incredibly powerful turn.
I mean, it's ending there, but okay, that might make a difference. I was going to say, is it going to end here because Monsanto is just going to concede? Not yet.
Oh, he needs more. He needed like Philosophy off this, and then Spectral Sight into a Moarg, and then could Moarg Fel Screen Blast on the left side, and then Immolation Aura. But
glide a little bit too late too.
I mean, Monsanto can live here. Guild Trader plus Immolation Aura would clear out the Arbor Up tokens.
I grow impatient.
And there's 21 on board.
Yeah.
Not dead.
Time grows short.
I guess he has to just go for it. Try to give himself one more turn.
Potions, flask,
Yeah.
I got it all.
Okay. All right, and that's a dead draw for No Hands. Actually, maybe not. No, it's not a dead draw. He can just align it and then call it a day.
Yeah.
That's a great draw, actually. Forgot he was overloaded. Fantastic.
You.
All right, cool.
I yield.
There's the concede. Yeah. Well. I mean,
What can you
starting
do?
hand in a good matchup. Yeah. So. Well.
Yeah. There was some pan-outs for the draw there from Monsanto that might have bailed him out of that situation. I mentioned the Moargs, but just too little, too late, and No Hands did just have the goods, and it was a powerful turn, but it wasn't even like the maximum potential of Anaconda. I mean, if he had hit Fungal Fortune at any time, he would have drawn through his entire deck, and then you're looking at even bigger stuff on board, and potentially an even bigger loss. Who could have imagined an even bigger loss? But at least no more sweeps. Well, maybe not. We still have one more series after this, but the sweep streak has stopped there for our Friday.
Well, now we're gonna see No Hands bring the Rogue. Can we see more Kazakus on 4? We'll find out.
Especially if it's against Handlock. No, it's against Demon Heart. Still good. Can be good against Demon Heart. I'm actually curious to see this one though, because this will be the first time I believe we're seeing No Hands. No, it is the first time we're seeing No Hands with Garrote Rogue in his lineup for Grandmasters, which is quite interesting, just because of the fact that he said in the past that his the pain in his hands and Havoc used the eye tracker is what had stopped him from being in the past, but maybe feels like he's had enough practice on the deck now, can recognize the patterns faster, and just realize that it's too much of a disadvantage to not bring it in a metagame where it's so dominant.
Yeah, and I mean, we see that in how many players have brought the deck over how many weeks now, even though a lot of people say it might not be a strong deck or it can lose to itself, but it is consistently brought. The early Octobot.
Well, Monsanto doesn't really have a way to deal with it
Nope.
in the deck.
Nope.
That's reasonable. So, biggest decision is to hero power it or call No Hands bluff and say you don't have a way to deal with it, or don't have a way to activate it yourself. At some point, though, No Hands is going to find a way to activate it himself, or Monsanto is going to activate it for him, because there's really not many scenarios where he doesn't, unless it's like Illidari studies into Chaos Leech exactly.
Okay. Rep Secret Passage.
Oh no.
Into another
Oh no.
passage. All right, there's the Penflinger. Interesting to note as well, he is running this one Penflinger. Not all of the Garrote Rogues are running Penflingers, but No Hands is bringing one.
Too quiet.
Actually just going to use the Field Contact too, and going to protect it with the Divine Shield, but this is just emptying a few cards from the deck. It's not actually going super in on the card draw, but it's at least forcing Monsanto once again to not get quest completion if he wants to, or make it harder for him to get quest completion if he wants to remove this stuff off the board.
It does slow down the quest completion a little bit, but I feel like clearing that is a very reasonable line of play.
Yeah, you have to use the coin. So it's Spectral Sight, which will complete the quest, and then Coin Immolation or Tusk Piercer to deal with the Octobot on the other side. Or Fellscreen Blast. You could part ways with a Fellscreen Blast and hold on to the coin. I wonder if that's more worth it. Looks like it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's reasonable as well because the second Fellscreen Blast is in hand and has now been discounted. So that's it's fine to get rid of the first one. Slow down what No Hands wants to be doing, but we are going to see the turn 4 Kazakis.
I'm looking for a few good mercenaries.
I see Divine Shield.
There it is. Oh, nope. Just kidding.
Aw.
I mean, those are not that good.
No.
He'd want card draw or
Card
summon
draw.
a copy.
Yeah.
Maybe spell damage could be relevant in some situations, right? You know, who cares about holding on to your Thera Hogwarts? I got a Golem with double spell damage. Nope. It's deal 3 to 2 random enemies. Could be useful for killing off some brutes, but other than that, not the best Golem.
No. And I guess it creates a minion that Monsanto might want to deal with. But Monsanto has a little bit more flexibility with just kind of ignoring that for a turn or two. Okay, studies.
Only the second quest. Glide could be good.
Short.
He already has a Glide in hand, though.
Yeah.
Why not 2?
Why not both?
Yeah. And if he's going to be gliding next turn, I like the hold on the Sigil. But if he wants the flexibility of not having to glide, you should play the Sigil.
I think the Sigil could allow for something else, like you said, maybe not even playing the Glide. But I think even if he goes for a Glide after getting the 2 draws, because he'll draw 1 from Sigil and then 1 for the start of the turn, those Glides are not going to be outcasted.
Yeah.
He might still just go for it and go for quest completion anyways, or to find brutes. And giving the Sigil gets that additional draw to make brute 1 cheaper.
You know what? For a good full 3 seconds there, I forgot that there's brutes in this deck.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even seen one. Not seen one on the board. Monsanto hasn't drawn a brute in 2 whole games, getting through half his deck in both of them. That's very unlikely.
I'm looking for a few good
All right.
mercenaries.
No Hands, meanwhile, though, is going for probably another 5. This time, probably looking for give your minions +2/+2. There it is.
Yeah.
Actually, draw 2 is also good.
Yeah.
Probably
Those were much better choices.
Yeah.
I guess, unless he really thinks Monsanto is about to clear the board. And then he goes for draw. But there's also a lot of other draw in hand. Picking up that refreshing spring water, could find something from studies to get a little bit more draw. I think the +2/+2 would be pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
How about a third Glide?
Immolation or Glide actually seems pretty good here. Whatever those golems are that No Hands has been holding on to, you're going to go back in the deck. Right now, hand space is the biggest thing for Monsanto. I think he needs to Glide, if anything, just to clear up some space for Kurtrus in the hand. So many glides, the heck.
Grows short.
Not gonna glide? Okay.
Ooh,
Wants to
okay.
save the glides for post Kurtrus?
Another happy guildie.
Does he have enough to make the brute free?
No.
So there's not enough mana.
Yeah. This is also actually 10 cards from Monsanto, so he will actually burn a card. But Il'gynoth and Fellscream Blast are in hand, so doesn't have to worry about that. But burning like a Moarg would make things a little bit tougher for him, or a Philosophy, because honestly, that's kind of the same thing. Well, both of these golems are 5/5 golem, battle cry. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, he could Penflinger and then give the Penflinger +2/+2.
You're not wrong. He could. I don't see a reason.
That is a
he
legal
wants to
play.
do that, but you're not wrong. Technically, the truth. I mean, okay, so we've talked about how many times No Hands has gotten to play cards for nothing. Monsanto is setting up to be able to. He's doing it.
He did it! Oh my god!
There's that philosophy.
He did it. The madman.
I mean, if Monsanto can, after playing this Kurtrus, if he can get some glides, like his cards would cost nothing.
There's the theme. The theme is back. Cards that cost nothing.
Sure. A fourth glide.
Yeah.
I think drawing and finding more cards seems like a good idea here. Oh, acrobatics, can't play it.
Still a pretty good situation to be in for if you're Monsanto. No hands. 15 cards left in the deck with one field contact dead. So, no hands. Like drawing one card off the first field contact and losing it immediately will make it pretty difficult for him to actually like draw through the rest of his deck one and then be able to find the card draw to actually get the growths in deck and pull them out. So this is not a great situation.
Okay.
All right. Well, there's some minions on board. That's a start.
Pleasure doing business.
Where the philosophy burn comes into play. One philosophy left in the deck.
Oh, another artificer too.
I mean, it's
Another happy guilty.
Il'gynoth being costing 5 is pretty big.
Yeah.
He's still off. That's 24. He does have the mana for the Il'gynoth. That would have been 24 if he had mana for Il'gynoth.
Yeah.
Be a triple Moarg. He can get Brutes though. Oh, it's a 50-50. Hit the Moarg.
Time grows short.
He just drop both of the brutes here, or does he really have? Doesn't have a great way to clear these minions either.
Oh well, I mean, yeah,
there's
you just
so
drop both Brutes, and the next turn he's got lethal.
Yeah. I mean, unless No Hands finds a way to kill Monsanto first, but there's still a lot of cards left in the deck for No Hands.
What? Okay.
You look like you like a good deal.
He's just going for the tempo win.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, this makes a lot of sense. So if he goes for Brutes, and then, or just goes for Brutes, and then No Hands potentially has an out of like just shuffling a couple growths into the deck and then drawing a little bit and trying to pull them out. This way, there's no chance for that to happen, and he puts No Hands in this weird spot where he has to clear up the board and draw through his deck. But that was the last Fellscream Blast, and there's no other forms of healing in the deck. So now Monsanto kind of has to win with just this stuff on board. There's not even an Illidari studies left to try and discover healing to be able to use with this, but still very difficult for No Hands to deal with. I do think that maybe it wasn't necessary for Monsanto to give him. I don't know. That's a tough spot to be in. I don't want to say that was a mistake other way, because 13 health, or I think he was at 13, is not a lot of health to work with.
I mean, after he even made the play, you kind of could see Monsanto shaking his head like it didn't feel like it's what he wanted to do. I don't know if it was just something with the rope burning and that's not what he wanted to do, if he just feels like he's in that really awkward, tough spot. I don't hate going for the board here, though.
Just tempo the Oganov. It's basically an 8/8 at this point.
And queue up some free cards.
Yep. That's free. Wait, that's not free.
What?
That's free. Wait, that's not free? Oh, he didn't trade it. Okay.
Yeah. Monsanto's just becoming a glide gamer now. Just glides after glides. It's not even going to get to that point.
Ends the game with 2 left. All right, well, that'll be the end of the road for No Hands. Could even go for the Miracle Garrotes, because no spell damage means he wouldn't, even if he had drawn every single bleed off the the tip of the cap. Good game, my lad. I love it. Monsanto's great.
Well, okay, you know what? We saw Monsanto now take this series 3-1, getting this final win that you see on screen here with the hybrid Demon Hunter here, which was not banned. Now, I mentioned earlier, all right, that every time Monsanto has gotten into the top 4, or he's gotten into the top 4 quite a few times, and every time that he goes further than just top 4, he wins. All right, so what do you think? Does he take it all the way over the weekend?
Absolutely. He's got the best lineup week after week. At least that's what his practice partner, Language Hacker, will tell us. I don't think Monsanto's ever actually said it, but Language Hacker will say it every time. I think he's in a great spot right now. I think that, the way that he's building his lineup, the way that he's banning with the deck as well, affecting, how he techs and includes each individual card. It's looking pretty good for Monsanto. He seems nigh unstoppable. But No Hands, unfortunately, it feels like this is where